Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Jay's Sit Down podcast. I'm your host, Jaden. I'm here today with Cameron Bird here, sports enthusiast, good friend of mine, and we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl. And it was a very great game, Cam. It was entertaining. It was exciting. And a wild finish. So let's talk about that, man. But thanks for coming on.
Yes, yeah. Thanks for having me. Mahomes won his third, so they're talking about the GOAT conversation now. So I don't know, and that he might catch up to Brady, and I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, I think the Super Bowl was a very good game. I think it was tight, which is what I wanted. I wanted a tight game, but I knew the Kansas City Chiefs weren't going to let the 49ers walk away with this one so easy. So.
Yeah, me either. I think everybody knew, no matter what team you're rooting for, that Chiefs are probably going to win this. And that can go into a whole different tangent about, the script and all that stuff that we hear about every day. But we're not going to, we'll leave that where it is. But for the sake of this conversation, I think the 49ers had a solid chance to win this game. It's just at the end of the day, man, Kyle Shanahan. He made some.
He blew it.
Oh,
he blew it.
Yeah, he blew it.
No, he blew it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy, man, because they have such a talented roster, and they've been getting to these big games. Like they got to the NFC Championship game a couple years ago, lost against the Rams. They, lost that game. Probably should have won that game. They lost, of course, against the Eagles, but Brock Purdy was hurt, so that can kind of go either way.
Right.
And I mean, the biggest loss, of course, being to the Chiefs in Super Bowl 54, and of course this year. So I think the question now is, man, do you think that we should start having a conversation about Kyle Shanahan's future in San Francisco?
No. I think he this coming up year will be his 8th year. He had only 2 losing seasons in 8 years, so I think that's an accomplishment there. I think he's had 4 or 5 different quarterbacks he's coached, so I would say no. I would say he's still got it. I think he just needs to. I don't know if you heard, but this morning that they parted ways with Steve Wilkes, the defensive coordinator.
Yep, they just
So that's a step in the right direction. I knew that was going to happen. So. But yeah, that was definitely a step in the right direction. Hopefully they get somebody who's experienced and who can run that defense at a high level again, like DeMeco Ryans and Robert Saleh. So, but yeah.
I heard that they fired Steve Wilkes, man, and it was a little strange at first considering, but then I remember the 49ers defense this year, I mean, while they were good, not as good as we've seen them in the past. They had some lapses, a few games where they kind of, they got killed with the run, and in certain areas in the past, with the 49ers, I saw this on film too, especially watching their game against the Lions. The middle of the field is a great spot to attack them. For some reason, it's a void there. And so they have lapses in their coverages in the middle of the field, and the Chiefs were going to that. Rasheed Rice and, of course, Watson a couple of times too. But, yeah, they just kept going to that. And you can run the ball on them too. But they played decently in the Super Bowl, but a lot of people have mixed feelings about Wilkes leaving. So you thought they made the right move there?
Yes, because all year, I mean, even with the Ravens, that game they played against the Ravens on Thanksgiving, I think.
Christmas.
Christmas. Sorry, yeah, Christmas. I don't know. DeMeco Ryans had a special defense there, and Robert Saleh even had a special defense there. So I honestly think it was the right decision. Even especially, I don't know if you noticed, but on the sideline, Kyle was kind of upset that he was calling all-man blitz, and that the Super Bowl, in the third quarter when Mahomes was driving. So that kind of gave me a glimpse that he might get let go. and then it wasn't a surprise. Like a couple of days later, he got let go. So, but yeah, um, there are some speculations that Brock Purdy is the future of the 49ers. I still believe that. I do think that with McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk is leaving. I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. He's leaving, so I don't know where he's going. He's trying to explore free agency. But I think if they can find another receiver, I think they're gonna be good.
Yeah. Brock Purdy, man, he gets the hate, but at the end of the day, he's a baller, man. He's a good quarterback. And you
Mm,
talk about the game manager stuff. I mean, well, if you think about it, man, aren't like all quarterbacks game managers because you're asking them to run the offense in a system that you're wanting them to run, right? So, and you're not really having them like I guess if you go off schedule or if you're not out here making these crazy throws at Patrick Mahomes, you're a game manager. Like what kind of sense does that make? I mean, Tom Brady, technically, if we're being real, was a game manager
right.
for the Patriots for 20 years. So it's like what's the whole deal with that? But he's to me, I think he's fine, and he's not contract eligible until after next year. So
Right.
because he was the last pick, he cannot sign a deal until after the 2024 season. So that's also something to keep in
Right. So he has some security. Um, I I'll say this. I do think that the 49ers have something going here. Trading away Jimmy Garoppolo, I still to this day I understand why, but at the level of maybe the 5 years he was there, he posted a winning record. Moving on to a third string quarterback in Brock Purdy, he had 2 great years so far. But I'm gonna go back to what Dan Campbell said about it's hard to get to that spot. And for Kyle Shanahan to get there 3 years later after losing um, to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, I think it was
Super Bowl 54.
54. So 4 Super Bowls earlier. I think that it's so hard to get there. And the way that Mahomes and them won the game, I think it showed me a lot. Because everybody's like, well, Mahomes this, Mahomes that. And when you talk about game manager, I'm like, well, Mahomes does things that are uncanny, that are like crazy. So, what do you think about that? What do you think about as far as there's quarterbacks who are game managers, how to run the clock, when to call timeout, and then you have Mahomes who wants to score on every play. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, but see, like, and I don't have a problem with people saying like, but just don't put a negative spin on it. What's the problem? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like the way they frame that narrative about Brock Purdy or any other like other quarterbacks, like you could say that have been called that in the past. For example, guys like uh, Kirk Cousins or maybe Matt Ryan, right? Quarterbacks like that, even Jared Goff, quarterbacks like that, like well, there's nothing really wrong with that. I mean, that's what the offense, what the coaches want them to do, just kind of, hey, just mash the game and lead us down the field, and we just as long as we get points, whether it's field goal or touchdown, leading us down the field, taking time off the clock, we're getting points, we're keeping the ball on, not turning it over. Like I don't see a problem with that. And if you're a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes and with all that uncanny and the crazy stuff that he does, hey, if you can do it, do it. I mean, Coach Reed lets him do his thing. So it depends on what type of players you have. But that's my thoughts on it.
And we'll talk. I guess we'll talk about Andy Reid. I think he's in the conversation now. He's won three Super Bowls as a chief head coach and one as an assistant. So he has 4 Super Bowls in total. Man, he's a good coach. I like Andy Reid. Between Donovan McNabb and then he had Vic, and now he has Mahomes and talent, man. You can't. He has a history, man, and it's good. So, especially this year, the way that their offense looked, especially against the Lions in week one, and the way that they kind of struggled week in and week out to score points, to still come out on top, that says a lot about the coaching and a lot about the culture there. So that's my thoughts on Andy Reid.
Yeah, I agree with you. Andy Reid is definitely one of the best coaches in NFL history for sure. And when it's all said and done, I think he's going to win more Super Bowls. So as long as he's got number 15 under center, he has a chance every year. So yeah, and moving on with that, I mean, you look at it, man. The Chiefs, I thought, watching them for the first couple weeks of the season, they did not look good at all. Turned the ball over a lot. Of course, everybody knows about the drops with the receivers and couldn't catch the football. I'm like, man, you cannot play football like this and expect to win in January and February. And yet, the Chiefs did it. They corrected it towards the end of the season. They kind of started getting back right, and guys stepped up. Rasheed Rice, man, I think we got to talk about him. He stepped up this year. As a rookie, he stepped up a lot. So
I think it's a level of who is going to step up. Like, it can't be Kelsey, and obviously can't be Tyreek Hill anymore. So who's going to step up? And I guess, Rasheed Rice. I think he's one of those receivers that you kind of overlook, and you're like, oh well, he's good, but he hasn't done anything. But he did do something. The last 8 games, he was incredible. So, yeah, and I guess, and I heard somewhere that Travis Kelce is coming back to play again. He was going to retire, but he was like, nah, I want to get another ring, and I love the Chiefs Kingdom and all that. So I'm happy about that, but I wanted him at least to take a minute to think about it, because he probably is other than Gronkowski, the greatest tight end to ever do it in the postseason and in regular season. So, and again, like I said, with the coaching staff, and I think today they also extended Spagnuolo.
Yes, sir.
Spagnuolo, yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know how long. Do you know how long?
I'm not sure. All I know is that he got a contract extension, but I'm sure they'll release details on that later. But
yeah,
I'll let you guys know out there when I get that what the details of that are specifically. But yeah, they extend him,
right.
And this is a guy that really probably should have had a head coaching gig a couple of years ago. And he's one of the more underrated coaches. You don't hear his name come up a lot unless it's by these analysts and experts out there who really know football and they watch it, they cover it, they know he's a great defensive coach, great defensive coordinator. And I think at some point he is going to be a head coach. If that's what he wants, he should be.
Yeah.
Because defense, man, they played. They kept him alive a lot this year.
They shut down the 49ers, man, and with McCaffrey. He runs downhill on the outside, and then George Kittle and Ayuk and Debo, like that's hard to stop. And Kittle, and he just manned it, and he did his usual, pressure looks on one side, and it worked. So, but yeah, hats off to him. He was also a former Giants defensive coordinator under Tom Coughlin when they won against the Patriots. So, I mean, he's a good. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a head coach in a year or two. I wouldn't be surprised.
Me either. And I just want to mention this too, man. Switching back to the 49ers, they, we talked about Kyle Shanahan a little bit earlier, and I am going to say this again. Now I'm a Falcons fan. I'm based here in Atlanta, so the Super Bowl. It's a very touchy subject, but Kyle Shanahan, for some reason, he does have a tendency to stray from the running game. In moments where he shouldn't, like the third quarter, man, specifically, Christian McCaffrey wasn't getting a lot of touches in the third quarter. A time where I think he really should have got the ball, and for some reason, and look, I get that. Hey, I trust my quarterback to make plays. You have faith in Brock Purdy. I get it. Brock, for what it was worth, played decently well outside of a few throws, but you got to give the ball to your MVP, man, your offensive player of the year, and he didn't do that. And this is a common theme that we've been seeing with Kyle Shanahan. And at what point I'm wondering is he gonna get it? is he ever going to win the big game?
I think it's going to be one of those wake up call moments when John Lynch is like, well, if you don't do this by this date or this game, we might consider you letting you go. And I think that would be a wake up call for him. Some coaches need that. Some coaches need that extra push, motivation. I mean, for the last 8 years, he's had the leading rushing offense. I mean, the outside zone has become a staple of that offense, and I didn't see it in the second half at the Super Bowl. I didn't see it at all. Yeah. So, I understand the Steve Wilkes letting go. I did not like the 2 plays in a row where he called an all man blitz. That was I don't know what he was doing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, that was a questionable hire in the beginning of the year. I think that was one of those hires I was like, but he didn't do well at the Carolina Cardinals. In the Carolina, they did okay, but he didn't do well, you know?
Yeah, that's understandable. His defenses, I mean, they play well, but it's like with the 49ers talent, it could have been a lot better. What it was during the year. I mean, we saw better with D'Amico leading that defense last year, as you mentioned earlier. So it was a little bit of a step down for what they usually play like. And so, yeah, they let him go after 1 year. I mean, I'm certain he's going to get another gig somewhere for sure. But, it's up to him. So, yeah. So what do you think, man? Now that all that being said, what do you think is key for the 49ers to do to continue to get back there and to have a chance to redeem themselves?
I think if Brandon Ayuk leaves, I think they're going to need to get another receiver. Strengthen up that group. I want to say strengthen up the running back group because if McCaffrey has an injury, that offense can't just fall apart because he's gone. So I'm thinking that, and then I'm also thinking the defensive side of the ball. Got to shore up that secondary. I mean, it's kind of obvious that they need to fix that. So, if they address those 2 areas, I think they'll be back. I definitely think they'll be back. I had a question for you, man.
Okay, what's that?
For the Falcons, man, Raheem Morris. I know we're getting off topic, but
no,
I mean it's. I like the hire. I do because he was a former defensive coordinator for the Falcons under Dan Quinn. So I like it. And how did you feel about Arthur Smith, man? I know 3, 7, and 10 seasons. I know that wasn't fun. So yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, man. Arthur Smith, he had a reputation of being this really great play caller with Tennessee and stuff like that. And he did coach some good offenses, but when he got to Atlanta, just as a head coach, some guys just aren't meant to be head coaches, man. That's the fact of the matter. And this is even going out to high school and college level. Like some guys are just meant to be coordinators. They go leave to be a head coach somewhere, and it doesn't work, and then they end up going back to being a DC, OC, or whatever. You see that a lot. Mm-hmm. So he just wasn't a head coach, man. I don't think he was the right leader for the team. He offensively, the play calling was atrocious in the red zone. He didn't use his pieces correctly. Didn't get the ball to his players. How he needed to get it to them, and they 7-10 record, like you said, man, 7-10 record for 3 seasons straight. That's not going to cut it, man. That's not good.
That's not good at all. Yeah,
not at all. And bringing in Raheem Morris, the guy who was our interim head coach a few years ago when Quinn got fired. But now he gets a chance to bring in his own guys, which I think is super important. So he gets bringing in Zach Robinson from the Rams, and some other defensive coaches as well from there, and they brought in a quarterbacks coach.
KJ Black, I think, right?
Yeah, he's. I think he was like he's like Doug Williams' like nephew or grandson or something like that.
Yeah.
So he's related to him. So They bring him in, so he's building a nice staff here, man. And I want to see what kind of players he gets in the building. You got a great defense, man. Decent, uh, a decent defense. You got good players. I just want to see how they. Apparently, they're going to be moving to a 3-4 personnel defensively now, so base 3-4. So we'll see how that goes.
I think if they get the draft predictions are saying they're going to get Dallas Turner. If they get that one extra piece and Grady Jarrett and Jesse Bates in the back end, and then they get the AJ Terrell and who's your other corner? I forgot.
Jeff Okuda. Jeff Okuda. So they got Jeff Okuda. Remember, he was with the Lions. They traded for him.
Yeah.
And now Clark Phillips, who was a rookie, he played really well, and he actually started over Okuda towards the end of the year. I guess they liked him better. So we might even see him out there next year. So who knows? But you never know. AJ Terrell is on the other end. So
right. I heard Caden Ellis name a lot.
Yeah.
Linebacker. Yeah. He's played well.
Yeah, he played really good, man. He's a tackling.
And Calais Campbell. Mm-hmm. Calais Campbell. So, I mean, you guys have the pieces. But I think if y'all add Dallas Turner, that pass rush is gonna be good.
Yep. Just need a quarterback, man. We can't try Desmond Ridder back out there next year. If they want to win, they can't do it. It's just
or Marcus Mariota or Taylor Heineke I don't know who they'll bring in.
You need a quarterback. Desmond Ridder started 13 games this past season, and he turned the ball over in every one of those games. Fumble, interception. He didn't have a single game without a turnover. That can't happen, man, from your starting quarterback. So that's not good. Ball security is extremely important. That's something you work every day in practice.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I was playing, they used to be killing the running backs and the quarterbacks on those ball security drills, man. You know how that, you played too, so that's important. So for all your offensive players, and so for him to be turning the ball over like that, you can't win.
Well, one thing, and I learned from one of the offensive coaches, I like offense. A lot of guys go towards defense. I like offense. I like scoring. But one thing I always say is you got to protect the football.
Yeah.
So in all facets, you can't fumble, you can't turn it over, you can't give the defense any motivation. Can't. So I think it's going to be an interesting year. I think it is. With all the new coaching changes, and I mean, honestly, were you scared if Bill Belichick was going to be the coach, man? Were you scared?
I was terrified.
Oh man, dude, he probably wouldn't be a good fit. I don't know.
But longevity wise, that's not what I wanted. You need a guy who's younger, who the guys can rally around. Because you understand, man. Now it's a different time with these players. So, like in the normal world, this generation of people now, and particularly in sports, these guys respond differently. So you can't. The Bill Belichick's way, I mean, it may work up in New England, but especially down here in Atlanta, and it's you bring, what I mean? That's not gonna. I don't think it will.
Yeah.
So,
And I don't know, but I think that people are gonna start to figure out the Chiefs. I'm saying it now. Just like they did with New England when they were talking about the dynasty and all that. Yes, they're gonna win. I believe Patrick Mahomes is going to get at least 5 or 6 Super Bowls before he's done. That's my belief.
Oh yeah, of course.
But I do think it's going to happen just like Brady did. He's not going to get traded, but they're going to figure out. Okay, he scrambles. Okay, he does all platform throws. Okay, he goes to this receiver tight end on this formation. They're going to figure it out, and that's going to be really where either Andy Reid or whoever's coaching then is going to need to figure out, okay, this is the skill set. So that's going to be interesting. That's just my thought, because if they figured out Brady, but they did that 18, 19 years later, which I don't even know if that makes any sense. But yeah, it's kind of too late. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And now, granted, though, the Patriots didn't do a good job of surrounding him with the best, playmakers on the offense side of the ball either. So in his last year, remember they lost to the Titans in the playoffs in the first round, I think. that year. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, you're right. The NFL, man, is changing. These guys are catching on. A lot of other teams will be getting better. Like I was talking about this the other day on a podcast. But you're gonna have teams like the Texans. Like I mean, these other quarterbacks coming up, like in the AFC, especially C.J. Stroud, Trevor Lawrence. I mean, these guys like they're gonna be better back. Joe Burrow will be back healthy next year too. So that's something to think about as well. The Bengals, can they get back to that to the Super Bowl as well? So it'll be interesting to see what happens for sure.
I like my Bengals. I do. I love Zach Taylor. I love but getting rid of Brian Callahan, I don't know if that was. I can't say it was smart, but he's coached at the Bengals for 5 years, so I guess he's had his run and he's had his time to kind of figure that out. I honestly, the Titans, they need to figure out Ryan Tannehill. They need to figure out that defense. They have a lot of pieces that they need to figure out. And if he can't, I believe it. If Brian Callahan can't figure it out year one, he may not be there year two. That's my prediction.
Nah, solid, man. He's got to figure it out. I mean, I think the number one thing is, Ryan Tannehill can't be your starter next year.
No.
If it's Will Levis, so be it. But I'm still not even so sold on him. But we'll see. I mean, the Titans are an interesting squad, man. They're one of those teams. They figure a few things out, man. They can be back to where they were a couple years ago. And the question,
do you think they should have fired Mike Vrabel? That's a hard one, I know.
I mean, personally, no. He's one of those coaches, man. He's got a fire to him, and he has a certain way he likes things to be done. You got coaches like that. Players, they like to play for coaches like that. Coaches that are going to get in their face and going to challenge them. He used to be a linebacker, so he's like that physical mindset. He wants to be physical and violent. I would love to play for a coach like that, but I feel like he kind of was a little bit of a scapegoat, in certain areas. So, but I think they should have kept him. But now he's not going to even have a position this year. So we'll see next offseason cycle where he'll end up. Probably coordinator or a coach somewhere. But we'll see.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions, man?
No, man. I mean, like I said, that was pretty much it. Just wanted to kind of recap the Super Bowl with you and everything, and it was, like I said, a great game. So very exciting. Chiefs are champions once again. Taylor Swift is a champion once again. Or now she is a champion. But at least
last point I'll make is Chiefs are back-to-back championships. I think since 03 04 Patriots. So
yeah.
That's a long time.
3? Can they make it 3? Who knows?
That's a good one. I'm not counting out Mahomes anymore. I'm glad I didn't bet any money on this game, man. I would have lost. Yeah, I would have lost a lot of money. Yeah. So, but yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, man. But hey, Cam, thank you for coming on the show today, man, and talking some ball.
Of course.
And that'll pretty much wrap us up. You guys, make sure you check us out here on YouTube and all the platforms out there. Subscribe. And Cam, do you have a place where people can find your work or anything like that?
Yeah, so it's just Cameron Bird. And I guess they'll drop it in the description. But it's just Cameron Bird, and then I have Twitter, Instagram. I'm pretty active on Instagram, so I post a lot of stuff there. So
yeah, make sure you guys check him out there, and you check us out here on Jay's Fit Down. Also, guys, make sure you check out my book, The Soldier, is purchased on Amazon. Great read, so make sure you check it out. I'll put a link in the description. But that'll wrap us up, Cam. Thank you again, and we will be talking with you soon, bro.
All right, thanks for having me. Thank you.
Of course, man. Thank you.